Man, we finally get ourselves a VR Troopers solo series, man. And I can't wait to jump into it. Yo, what are we waiting on? Roll that intro, cuz. Yeah. Yo, what's going on with Geek Corner? This is your boy, Earth Matt the Mad Scientist, and welcome back to the Orange Phoenix Media Channel and another episode of Comic Book Declassified. So today we're going to jump into VR Troopers number 1. Now, some of you guys may be very familiar with the VR Troopers, some of you old heads, and for you young cats that's jumping into this is a good jumping point. This is a great starting point to get into VR Troopers lore. Now, VR Troopers came out in 1994 and aired until 1996, produced by Saban Entertainment. Now, with Saban Entertainment, you should be very familiar with Saban because they are famous for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And due to the popularity of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you got Superhuman Samurai and the Cyber Squad, you got Big Bad Beetleborgs, and then you got VR Troopers. So because of the popularity of Power Rangers, you got all these other tokusatsu shows that showed up on American television. But an interesting fact about the VR Troopers is that they came from 3 different shows. The first show being Shojiki Matauder in 1987, and Jiku Senshi Spielbahn in 1986, and Uchu Keiji Shouder in 1984. And because these shows had different characters, settings, and aesthetics, VR Troopers often kept the heroes separated in battle, explaining why they rarely fought together in the same scene. So the footage was from entirely different shows. So the simple fact that we get VR Troopers as a comic and some full continuity and the team being glued together, that makes things all the world better. Now, a little bit of background about the VR Troopers. Now, when it came out to the VR Troopers in this comic, they are in the same world as the Power Rangers. If you read Power Rangers Prime, if you haven't read it, there is links at the end of this video so you can check out those videos as well. But the thing is, the VR Troopers are not exactly bad guys. I would say they are a little antagonistic because they are somewhat of the police force of the Eltarians. Now, the Eltarians is basically Zordon, like the race that Zordon is. So the Eltarians has inhabited Earth, they saved Earth, but in a sense, they colonized Earth as well. So they are the enemy of the Power Rangers, and the Power Rangers' powers was given to them by no other than Rita Repulsa. Yeah, it's that deep. It gets that deep. But we stem away from the Power Rangers and we jump into VR Troopers, and we go with Ryan Steele, which is the leader of the VR Troopers. So he's kind of like laying down 2:15 a.m. in the morning in Angel Grove. And he said, look, Dad said, when I had a problem, I first needed to make sure I wasn't bleeding anywhere. If I was, I needed to fix it ASAP. If I wasn't, how bad could it really be? I'm not hungry, thirsty, injured, or in danger. I'm just alone. He's like, I mean, I've had problems, but my mom split when I was little. My dad died right before high school. My ex-girlfriend Valentina, that's beyond complicated because Valentina basically a Power Ranger. So but Earth is an Eltarian colony. So what does anybody do that has superpowers? They go out there and get some fresh air. Like, you know what, let's solve some petty crimes and maybe that'll make me feel better. Let's stretch the legs out a little bit. Let's, exercise the muscles a little bit. So he trooper transforms and he goes to the Angel Grove water and power plant, and from there he see this person, and like I said, galactic colony, galactic problems. And he goes stupidly says, what are you? And this person escapes, and you get this loud bang, and you see this woman passed out on the floor. From that standpoint, you see this mysterious figure in a hood, and he says, fools and idiots constantly getting in my way. And so he knows this is not a petty situation. This is a serious issue. So obviously he radios in for help. He said, listen, I got a code red situation. Get to my location now. So Ryan gets into it with this mysterious figure, and the mysterious figure says, one chance, trooper, walk away. Ryan says, that's not in my vocabulary, my boy. So let's get into it. So they fight, they get into it, And man, what a great artwork scene it is. And said, listen, that's all you got? He said, don't feel too badly. I've been doing this a lot longer than you, and you're not the only one having a bad day. He like, dang, this jerk's tough. I'm not sure I can beat them alone, but I might not have to. So he takes his blaster out, and he actually blasts the machine, and he said, listen, this is on you now, Ryan. Like, this figure knows Ryan's name. He's like, give me your virtualizer or I end their lives. And he's like, all right, cool. Here's my virtualizer. From that standpoint, this figure says Trooper transform, and he is about to transform. Ryan is in shock, but right before that actually happens, his backup shows up with the laser lance and gets the virtualizer out this mysterious figure's hand. And he said, listen, you want to play dirty? So can I. And he disappeared. He's gone. So you go back to the VR Trooper headquarters where they talk to Zaris. And it said, listen, the civilians were all alive, Zaris. None of them had any memory of how they got to the power plant or who brought them there. And they were all wearing Zictor brand VR goggles. She says, those are a common sleep aid for humans. Perhaps they were abducted while unconscious. And JB says that explains all the pajamas. And she says the question remains, why would they have been taken? I requested the Eltarian forces bring the device here. Any luck identifying it, JB? He said, listen, it's hard to identify, but I'm going to figure it out. Cyrus goes on to say, I think you're just as good as any Eltarian scientist, JB, but if we don't find this person on our own, it's irresponsible to ignore possible help, which leads us to our mystery figure. I was able to pull this from your files and run it through several Eltarian databases, and their name is classified, but they've been identified as a high-level security threat. And this person is from Earth, but not this Earth. So now we're dealing with a multiverse situation, and I feel like that might be like I wouldn't say a cop-out, but like an easy access to things. But Ryan is curious. He says, go on. He said, you have to understand these are classified secrets. Not even most Eltarians know this. The universe isn't just infinite in terms of space, but also variation. Other realities, other versions of Earth exist. And she says 2 years ago, something crossed through the barrier between our realities, and I believe this mystery guest is our reality fugitive. And the Eltarian government would very much like to speak with them. Now, this is the threat the VR troopers were truly made to combat. And it's happening here because your dad broke through the barrier first, Ryan. That's what killed him. So now, Ryan, this is new information for Ryan. He's like, huh? Like, what are you telling me right now? And she says, this isn't how I wanted to tell you, but we promised to investigate your father's death, and that is what we found. Tyler Steele and his colleagues were studying the reality barrier and attempting to pierce it, offering Earth access to another reality. This was done without the Eltarian government's knowledge or approval. The experiment failed. There were no survivors. But the basic premise was sound, and Eltar feared that someone in another reality might succeed where your father didn't. And Ryan was like, listen, hold up, back up. Why didn't you tell me this? Like, you think I should be privy to this information? And she says, when you needed to know, and now you do. Ryan storms out, rightfully so. Like, I'm surprised Ryan didn't throw in the hands because, listen, very, very close to his dad, and his dad's died, but you just find out this new information like years later. That is crazy. And she says, listen, an inter-reality criminal is on the loose in Angel Grove. The damage they cause is only going to get worse. Stopping that is the real problem I should be focusing on. And she says, you think Ryan's is okay. And JB goes on to say Ryan's dad meant everything to him. Zara's keeping things like that. There's no way that doesn't hurt. And she didn't even tell him half of it. And she's like, what you talking about? She's like, she knows at least one thing that she's not mentioning. Our virtualizers are keyed to each of our unique biosignatures. But Zaris told us that on day one, it's why our mystery man couldn't access Ryan's armor. And he says, but that's the thing, which means our mystery criminal is related to Ryan. So I showed Zaris the footage but she would have noticed. So why didn't she say anything? Guess it wasn't something the Eltarians thought we needed to know, or something they don't want us to. And I'm not bleeding as far as I can tell, but I'm so very tired of being kept in the dark, says Ryan, by people who are supposed to care about me. Is that a problem? So now we got to figure out, is this Ryan's dad or is it his mother? So we got to figure out what exactly going on. That is exactly how VR Troopers #1 is. And guess what? Issue #2 comes out in August.
Oh, son of a gun. You thought I was going to say son of a bitch, didn't you?
Right? So we got another whole month before we get VR Troopers issue #2, man. What kind of mess is that? Why are we getting these long gaps in comics, man? Just give us the goods, man. Just give it to us. But yeah, I hope you guys like this video, because if you stuck around this long, you already know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell. And when I say notification bell, you select all. That way you get notified on all of our content, whether it's live or recorded. All right, and feel free to comment on what you thought about VR Troopers issue #1. And are you reading Power Rangers Prime? So go out and check out our previous videos. Hope you guys have an awesome day. So until next time, peace.